Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here to a Pokemon Showdown team breakdown. I know you guys are going to really enjoy this. I normally don't do like full team breakdowns as much as just individual guides. So overall, this is the team that I use for just causing a lot of rage quits on Showdown, and it's not because it's a super gimmicky team or anything. It's honestly one of the best teams I've built. Like, I actually sat down and I put hours and almost days worth of work into this team just to really perfect it and make sure everything went right. So my experience with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire has been Sableye wins. That by playing Sableye just right, removing Sableye's threats, understanding where the strengths of this Pokemon are, you pretty much just kind of win a lot of battles because you come in, you call mine, and if they don't have any kind of fire Pokemon that are heavy physical or fairy type Pokemon, Sableye just wins. It's that simple. So I was thinking, what if I build a team around Sableye? Now the thing that I really wanted to focus on was fairy killing. So as you might notice, there's a lot of steel on my team. Heatran, Excadrill, Scizor, and Amoonguss is like a fairy killer in a way because it has the poison typing, and all these Pokemon are weak against fire, which might be one of the first criticisms of the team. But what I've learned is that that's one of like the least problems I've had because all the Pokemon cover for each other very surprisingly. So I've talked about Sableye to death, and this time I'm running a Snarl variant, mostly because I'm just going for a little bit less damage, but I'm also trying to shut down other Calm Mind strategies. So if I have Calm Mind and Snarl, and they have Calm Mind and some other move, I'm going to win that trade out because I get my Calm Minds and I Snarl, and then they stall out, but I'm still doing more damage to them, so it can work out like that, or at least I'm taking less damage. Since they're boosting their defenses, it gets a little weird, but overall this is what it's about. You use Prankster well, and then you reflect back status or entry hazards, and then you just kind of win when Sableye gets its full setup. But to super back up Sableye is Clafable. I used Clafable in my last Showdown laddering series, and it's just one of the strongest Pokemon in the game to use for a setup. That what you do with Clafable is you go Bold Nature, you fully invest hit points, fully invest defense, 1 point in special defense, big whoop, and then you just kind of play it like an unkillable tank. Now normally on Clafable you'll see something like Magic Guard. Magic Guard means it can't get toxic, it won't take any damage from entry hazards, it just kind of sits there and then sets up Calm Mind and win. Now the reason why I'm running Unaware is because of Sableye. If I feel a strong status is coming my way, I can switch into Sableye, have him like bounce back the status or something, and one of the biggest problems to the team is if a Pokemon's trying to like set up really quick. Like a Swords Dance, Talonflame, any kind of Swords Dance or Dragon Dance Pokemon generally give me a bit of problem because, okay, now it's outpacing my Sableye in setup, and that's really where the only problem comes in. Nasty Plot, just random things like that. So that's why I'll go into the Clafable. Clafable, sometimes it takes them a turn to realize it might be unaware, so they go for what they think is a free stat boost, and then they don't do any damage, and then I get free setup and a lot of other cool stuff. Now the great thing about Clafable is that it covers for itself, because it gets Flamethrower. Clafable gets Flamethrower, that's like the coolest thing ever. You set up one Calm Mind, and then you predict like a Scizor switching in and you use Flamethrower, that Scizor's gone. Any kind of Steel type that's trying to answer to you, you can do really well against, and most of the time you can just endure a super effective physical hit like an Iron Head, or something like that because you have so much defensive bulk, and Clefable's just filthy like that, and then you play it. Now the only drawback is Moonlight, but Moonlight is pretty much like the most legitimate way of running Clefable because Soft Boiled is some Generation 3 and almost impossible thing to get, so Unaware with Moonlight, very solid, and then Moonblast, just overall great coverage, and it's just like Sableye, that if you remove anything that stops it, so you get rid of all the Steel and Poison type Pokemon, Clefable goes, alright, I'm gonna call mine. Now I win. So I have two heavy win conditions in Sableye and Clafable right here. And that's really what the team revolves around. The rest of that is just switching around until the opponent loses the thing that can stop my win con, and then I kind of win. So Scizor, this is the next Pokemon I want to address because it's not really like a hard set 6 Pokemon. Like these five are perfect. These 5, they're going to always be on my team because they're really making it hard to defeat this team. Now Scizor, I threw him in because I like having Scizor on this. It's a quick answer to Fairy-type Pokemon, but I already have Excadrill and Heatran, so they're also really good answers to Fairy-type Pokemon. So with Scizor, I come in, I like him as a defogger, because if I'm doing so much switching, getting some Stealth Rock damage could be a little annoying over time. I have Lumberry so I don't get status, and then pretty much what I do with Scizor is I set up as many Swords Dances I'm comfortable with, and I start throwing out Bullet Punches. Sometimes, you know, after I've already chipped away a little bit of damage between the rest of my team, Scizor comes in, maybe gets +1 or +2 after removing some status. So, but at the same time, Scizor, a lot of Pokemon are meant to handle Scizor. There's a lot of Hidden Power Fire. There's a lot of Pokemon that are like, okay, I know what Scizor's going to do. He's going to go for the win or something silly like that. And also, since I'm not running Knockoff because I want to be more utility Scizor instead of like a hard carry Scizor, It's just Bullet Punch, so that can get resisted. There's a lot of physical walls in the game. Like, it just doesn't come through reliably, but it is still a strong Pokemon. Another Pokemon I have been considering but I haven't tried out is Mandibuzz, and mostly because I actually don't know why I'm not using it. It feels like it'd be a really good fit for the team. Put on the Overcoat, that way I'm safe from whatever like little chip damage my opponent is trying to throw at me. And it is such a tanky beast tank of tankiness that with the way that my defenses are broken down, you know, it's pretty balanced. I do favor a lot of physical defense in most of my Pokemon right here, but you know, Mungus has special defense, so I can just make Mandibuzz another pretty balanced tank, so a lot of hit point investment. Maybe not full-on defense, that way I can still take some hits. And also, a good thing about Mandibuzz is that a lot of the Pokemon on my team, I think every weakness by Mandibuzz is covered by some other Pokemon on my team, so that works out really well. So I would run it as a Defogger, Roost, Defog, and then like maybe this is where I could get my knockoff utility. So it'd pretty much be the same as Scizor, but just tankier and more supportive. Like, I think Mandibuzz is a better support, less hard carry, but I wasn't using Scizor as like a super sweeper anyway. And then with the last move, I don't even know. I can kind of put whatever I want right here. Maybe Brave Bird, that way I can bring it in on a Mungus and then handle it out pretty well. I really haven't used it yet, so I don't know what I would be able to use it for, and maybe just after, you know, win or lose a couple battles, figure out what it needs, and then that would work out pretty well. As for the item, could run Leftovers, but I would like a Citrus Berry. That way, you know, I can switch in, tank up some hits, get the Defog, go into a Roost, and then I can, like, get in safely for that one time I need it for the Defog, and that could work out pretty well. Another Pokemon I have been considering as well is Gliscor. Gliscor, like I use Poison Heal, I go with the Toxic Orb, but instead Gliscor gets Stealth Rock, so at least the way I see my team is I'm going to be tankier with a lot more sustain. So I don't always have to get rid of the entry hazards. Now Gliscor does get Defog, but would be silly if I defog my Stealth Rocks away, so I don't think I want to do that. If I could like Protect, Gliscor also gets Knockoff, and then I can Roost, and then I just go for Super Sustain, bit of utility. You know, I'm knocking off items, I'm setting up my Stealth Rock if he's trying to get rid of it, and then I'm just forcing switches. Like, this team forces a lot of switches, but personally, I'm just not an entry hazard kind of battler. That I just come in, I sit in there, and eventually my Pokemon are going to win out just from not budging and having too much setup. So I don't really put too much stress on that when I'd rather use that turn for a Calm Mind, or at least getting some health back. Some kind of other form, but if I ran Stealth Rock on this team, would be pretty good, so it is something worth testing. As for that, maybe go for some kind of mixed setup again, run defensive nature with this, so Impish Nature with this Gliscor would be pretty cool. And now let's get into some of the more filth that this team brings. My core is super great, it's just Heatran and Mungus. Like, the Heatran and Mungus covers for Sableye and Clafable so well, it's just absurd. So I have Regenerator on a Mungus. Pretty much, I bring in a Mungus, I Spore a Pokemon. Like if this was Battle Spot, the team would be way more unforgiving to battle against, which is also why I want to run like a Citrus Berry or something. I kind of want to play a Battle Spot that I'm not overlapping items, that way I'm at least getting Battle Spot practice. And with a Mungus, I could Spore Pokemon all day long. That most time you Spore someone, so their natural instinct is to switch out and go into a new Pokemon and try to like handle a Mungus. But if I get like back-to-back Spore predictions in Battle Spot, or a place where there isn't Sleep Claws, that could be pretty punishing. And then I just go into Sableye while they're asleep, get +2 Calm Minds. When they wake up, I Will-O-Wisp them, and then I win, because now my Sableye win condition has been met, and that's pretty much it. So with the Mungus, I did go for Calm Nature, more special defense, but some good defensive bulk. That way I just kind of come in and tank up everything. Black Sludge Regenerator, super broken. Get way too much health back. So pretty much I Spore, Sludge Bomb, I chip away some damage, I can Synthesis, I can switch out when it's bad, switch into Heatran or some kind of other monstrous tank. Like I can go into Gliscor, Scizor, whatever, get a Roost, go back into a Mungus. Regenerator healed it up quite a bit. Alomomola could also be a decent Pokemon for my last slot. Like Alomomola could do some really nasty things as well for the setup, so might be another Pokemon to consider. Just kind of balances out pretty well. So Mungus, you know, everyone knows what a Mungus does. It comes in there, tries to put Pokemon to sleep, turns into setup, and then just becomes unkillable throughout the course of a battle. Sometimes I'm just left with like a Mungus and Sableye or Clefable, and they can't, and it's like my Mungus counters the thing that counters Clefable, so I just keep switching back and forth, and with Regenerator and Moonlight or Recover or whatever, they just don't get around it, and I eventually chip them down and win out. So again, Stealth Rocks could be strong, so a lot of crazy things to consider with this team. And then Heatran. Heatran is so unusual, but here's the thing. I don't need a Hyper Tank, Stall, Toxic, Roar, Phase, whatever Heatran. I don't need anything special. So my idea of this Heatran is running Modest with some speed investment and hit points. It's just full speed, full hit points. That way I'm getting outspeeds. Modest with choice specs means I'm getting the most out of my stats. And this is one of the most unusual things that has worked so well, because people don't expect the Heatran to outspeed like that. Like right now, Super Tank Garchomp is the thing. Like hit point, defense investment, Rocky Helmet Garchomp. This outspeeds that Garchomp. I've been outspeeding Garchomps and throwing out the Hidden Power Ice. Or if it's a Swords Dance Garchomp, it's Stealth Rock, you know. So then what happens is, like, I bring in Heatran as revenge, and then, like, Garchomp comes in, I just throw out the Hidden Power Ice, or something like, I've been knocking out Garchomps in some weird ways, and it works out with the Hidden Power Ice, and the rest of it is coverage. Flash Cannon. I come in, I resist a Fairy-type attack super hard, throw out a Flash Cannon. If they switch, they eat a ton of damage, because stab choice specs. Earth Power is going to cover pretty well, and Lava Plume for Scizor, Ferrothorn. Like, this is the ultimate staple Pokemon right here, that between dancing around with Amoonguss and stuff, it's like, I bring in Heatran, it's like, alright, time to soften up their team so I can really go for the sweep. And this unusual Heatran has been one of the strongest things I've been using. The point in defense, pretty just whatever. You can put the point in special attack. I'm either going for super effective hits or I'm switching back into Amoonguss. Is how I'm running Heatran, so that's kind of where it's at. Also, with this idea behind Gliscor or Mandibuzz, there is a lot of ground weakness as well between like Excadrill, Heatran. You know, I don't want to leave in Amoonguss on too strong of an Earthquake, so then I can go into Gliscor, Pokemon with Levitate, and then it's like free stall after the Heatran comes in, so that could work out pretty well. But other than that, it's just really setting up for Sableye and Clafable, and then I have Excadrill. So this is Adamant Scarf Excadrill. I'm not going like for super ridiculous amounts of speed, but I'm looking to outspeed, you know, at least high base speed Pokemon or slower Scarf Pokemon, but it's mostly just about the power. That I'm coming in, I'm going with a 135 attack, and I'm just going to lock into that Earthquake, and I'm going to try to do what I can. Also Excadrill's natural hit point bulk makes it easy as like a switch in Pokemon, so I can bring it in, set up into an Earthquake, a Rock Slide, an Iron Head, whatever. So it's just extra Fairy Killing or high damage Earthquake support, and that's kind of the team right there. So it's really just Excadrill. In my Showdown Rage Quit, you've actually seen it do some work. It just comes in and has ridiculous amounts of Earthquake damage, which is why I run the Adamant nature. And also, it's just really nice that if the opponent has slower Pokemon, or I'm just trying to look for a really good cleanup in the mid to late game, I bring in Excadrill, I chip in some damage, it eventually goes down, but by then enough threats have been removed that I go back into Heatran, Amoonguss, Sableye, Clafable, and then I kind of win. So that's really what this team is about. Now, except for Gliscor or Mandibuzz or whatever I put in the slot, this team has really not too many stall aspects, if any at all. Like, the funny thing about Amoonguss is it's regarded as a stall Pokemon, but the way I run it, just as this like really hard, you know, just stop to anything that weakens up Sableye or Clafable, poison type attacks, fairy type attacks, Amoonguss has got it covered. So it's more of a catalyst that I scare off their Pokemon, go into Heatran, blow up the Pokemon that threatens me, and then I go into Sableye, Clafable. I don't sit in for a million turns with Amoonguss just trying to draw out the battle because I've already lost. No, he actually speeds up my win condition, so this Amoonguss really doesn't make the team any more stall. Gliscor would probably be the biggest stall Pokemon on the team, but everything else has a win condition and has caused me to win the battle at some point or another. So that's really this team. It's just hard playing. Like, it's not an easy team to pick up and go play with. You need to understand what your opponent is going to do. Once you get into your opponent's head, though, and you understand, like, you just need to stick to your win condition. Try to identify your opponent's win condition, because they might say, alright, I'm going to keep my Fairy type safe so I beat out the Sableye. I'm going to keep my Clafable counter safe so I can beat out the Clafable. But if you just get that one outplay where your win condition trumps theirs because you made the correct switch, or you just got that one in that you needed before they did, then it's a really easy team to win with. Like, my win rate's pretty ridiculous right now. I think I'm like 20-4 or something. Like, I don't know. I just come in, I win, and cool things happen. It's a really hard team to get around, and unless you fully understand what it's going to do, it's easy to just slip up and lose to it really quickly, which is why all those rage quits happen. So I'm going to have a paste bin in the description, because, you know, why not? Like, I'm not going to be greedy with this team. I feel I could have, like, kept it hidden and just, like, secretly ladder or whatever, but no, I'd rather just show you guys, like, this is what I'm up to. This is the team that if I don't, you know, I love Ambipom so much. I love a lot of Pokemon. That this is the team of Pokemon I don't love too much. Like Excadrill, I think Excadrill's cool. I might actually use him, but mostly, you know, these Pokemon don't fit the way I want to play Pokemon, especially Heatran. Like, to catch a legitimate Heatran, soft resetting for that much, and getting Hidden Power Ice, it's pretty much impossible. So it's really only Simulator for me on this one. A lot of other Pokemon do, like, nothing does what Heatran can do for my team. So I would either have to sacrifice Hidden Power Ice, I'd have to soft reset forever. So it's more like, you know, Amoonguss. I don't like Amoonguss. He's such a filthy Pokemon. Ruining VGC, ruining singles, just So annoying overall. And Gliscor, I've used Gliscor, but it's a Pokemon I don't like using. It's too stall for me. Too much stall to use Gliscor. And it's just kind of like, well, this is the team that I pull out if I want to win, and I don't feel like having fun and playing Pokemon in a very lighthearted way. So if you guys enjoyed this video, that is my team. Go make adjustments, you know, show me that Stealth Rock, show me whatever craziness you can come up with, and maybe you can go high ladder with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thanks for watching.